Ask Yconic, everyone. Ask Yconic is our segment where we're going to answer important questions about student life. And today we're going to be tackling the upcoming first year of university for a lot of you newly graduated students out there.
Yeah. Yconic.com is a platform where you, the students, can ask and answer questions and interact with other students. So after the show, remember to visit our thread in the comments below and ask your own questions about student life.
And if you're new around here and don't know what Yconic is, as a member of yconic.com, you get access to Canada's largest one-stop shop of scholarships across Canada, and as well as some exclusive scholarships and contests offered only on our site.
Right. And during the show, feel free to comment about anything we say, whether you agree or disagree with us. And if you want to share some of your experiences, please do so.
And we're also offering gift cards to Starbucks for the most helpful and insightful comments throughout the show. So please share your experiences and your insights whenever you feel called upon.
Right. So our first question is about preparing for university. So Aaron, how did you prepare for university?
Well, I didn't do a whole lot of transferring, cities or anything like that. I stayed in Toronto. Basically, I just went out and bought materials and met up with a friend who happened to be going to the same university. I went to the University of Toronto Scarborough and basically just dived right in. I couldn't wait to get into university. I was a little worried. I'm sure a lot of you are about making friends. It's a difficult time. You're going to a whole new place, leaving all your old friends behind. But I found that everyone was there in the same boat. That everyone's sort of thinking about the same things. So I didn't have too much of a difficult time. What about you? You're just going into university.
Yep. So next year I'm going to Western, and I've started packing a lot. I've made a list of what I need to buy, what I need to bring to university. And I advise you to do the same thing as well, because there's a lot of things you need to kind of get together. And another thing is you want to look at your finances, right? So right now for me, I just recently got my RESP done. There's a lot of paperwork to do. So visit your branch or your banking branch if you want to get that done. And also I was looking into deadlines in terms of paying for fees, tuition, and residence, so you don't incur those fines.
Yeah.
And another thing I was doing is looking at the services that my university is providing to me, because those are important. I'm paying my $20,000, I want access to all the services I can get my hands on.
For sure. It's one of those hectic times of the year,
Absolutely.
Well, any special advice for our audience, going into first year? Is there anything that you've done that you think is a good thing for other people to do?
Yes. So right now, I'm actually looking for textbooks. If you're looking for deals on textbooks and things like that, contact upper year students. There's a lot of Facebook groups and pages.
Tons of them, yeah.
Yeah, and if you want to look for secondhand appliances, like mini fridges and things like that, I highly recommend you do that. So scout around for prices, scout around for appliances and textbooks, because there's definitely a lot of ways you can save money as a student.
And they could sell out, right?
Yeah, they can sell.
It could be a problem.
Absolutely.
I would suggest try to think more as an adult and be proactive about what the objectives that you want to set for yourself, and take charge of your own life.
Right.
If you're leaving for university at the end of the summer, you're in luck, because at the end of this show, we're going to be highlighting some important things that we think you should not forget to bring to university.
Right.
So stick around to the end of the show. So I guess we'll go to our first forum question.
Yep. So a question from our forum is, what do I have to do to get into a U.S. university? And what do you think?
I never applied to U.S. universities, but I had friends that did. From what I've been able to read online, spots are quite limited, and acceptance rates are a bit lower than our domestic schools, and it's a bit more expensive. What about you, Benson? Did you apply to international?
So I did think of applying to the U.S. for a bit. A lot of my friends did as well at my school. What I think about applying to the U.S. is you need to look at it at a very early time. So I recommend you looking in grade 9 and grade 10 and talking to your guidance counselor, because unlike schools in Canada, the process starts way before grade 11 and grade 12. If you're looking into getting to the States, you have to do the SAT or the ACT, score relatively well, and there's a lot of things involved with that, right? There's doing the prep courses, looking at what kind of extra subject tests you want to take, and that's only a part of it, right? In grade 12, you start doing the Common App. There's a lot of essays, and many of my friends spent weeks on end, preparing for this stuff. So if you're really interested in going to the States, look at it very early on. And another thing is the finances as well. Here in Canada, a lot of us enjoy paying domestic fees for our tuition. We say it's expensive.
Definitely enjoy doing that.
But going to the States is a whole different issue. You're paying international fees, and if you're going into a great university in a potentially expensive city, you want to talk to your parents about this.
Yeah.
A lot of my friends considering it. We're talking to the parents about selling the house, mortgaging, things like that. But if you're interested, definitely get in touch with the guidance counselor.
Yeah.
Meet with them because they have experience with this, and they can advise you on how to roadmap your process.
I'm sure as well the schools that you're applying to might have, you know, a registrar who's designated for these kinds of problems.
Yeah.
I'm sure like U of T, when I went there, had international state registrars. Definitely get in touch with them if you're really interested.
And actually, another thing is we have the Ontario University Fair here in Toronto. The US has a similar thing where they come with student reps and they visit different major cities in Canada. So definitely check that out and look at it online and do your research.
Right on.
All right.
We want to know from you guys as well. Have you gone to an American university? Are you planning to? Or if you have any more questions about it, we'd love to answer them.
Mm-hmm.
So please comment below or comment on our forum whenever you would like to.
Okay, and we have another question from our thread. If you already know what program you wanted to get into, you know, where did this happen for you? You know, where did you get your inspiration? Where did this start off for you?
I did not know what I wanted to do, to be honest. I had a couple things in the air, and I was interested in a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sort of still figuring it out. I work at yconic doing marketing, and I'm progressing my career. But you know, I just decided to pursue a general degree just to sort of dip my feet into different subjects, different areas, see what I liked. And I believe in working or continuing education as far as possible. So I'm working on graduate programs right now.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Benson?
So I'm considerably younger than Aaron, but in grade 9 and grade 10, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. But in grade 11, I started my school's co-op program, and I was placed in a hospital doing a lot of lab work. And that's where I kind of got me interested in, science and healthcare. And through those 5 months of working in co-op, I really got to appreciate and to better understand what it meant to work in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, actually, I started to contact professors and I got into pediatric research, and here I am today, very interested and very passionate about what I do. And for those who know me from the thread, you know that I'm involved with a lot of things even outside healthcare, volunteering and helping the community as well. So if you're interested in investigating or, dipping your feet into a certain sector or a certain area of career, go and visit your co-op office if your school has one and see what they can do to give you a nice placement at a local business or a hospital.
I think as well, it's important to remember that not everyone is the same.
Mm-hmm, right.
Just this example is a perfect one. I mean, find your path and see where it takes you.
Right. And if you've done co-op before, if you have any passions or, if you want to talk about what sparked your interest in a certain area, feel free to comment below. And remember, we're giving away a Starbucks gift card for the best insightful answer.
So let's move on to another question. This one's about OSAP. Were we supposed to hand in all the forms for OSAP on June 30th?
The safe answer is yes. For those who did it, there's 2 forms that you had to upload, and those were accepted almost immediately. Those were the signature forms. The MSFAA form, you had to mail, and a lot of people didn't mail it in time, or they mailed it right before the date, but it didn't get approved on the actual OSAP website. For me, personally, I mailed it a week in advance to the post office, but it got approved 1.5 weeks later. That being said, though, my OSAP was still approved and my tuition was deferred. So if you're wondering about your specific university, I would definitely recommend you contact your financial aid institution and get in touch with an officer and see where your OSAP is standing right now and if you're eligible for deferred tuition.
Definitely be proactive about this. This is an important part,
because you don't want to get caught off surprise and you're expected to pay before your OSAP is given to you. Contact them and make sure that the money that you're guaranteed from OSAP is going to cover your first installment, and you don't have to fork over money from savings or whatnot. Yeah. Okay, so our next question is, for those who want to get into university a year later, how is Frosh Week being surrounded by quote-unquote mostly younger people? Is it hard to make friends your age? I'm just curious if it's anything like high school. What do you think, Aaron?
I went to university right after high school, but in my Frosh Week, I did meet people who were up to 25 years old. So you're not behind at all. This is a professional education environment. Everyone's there sort of on the same footing. Everyone's there for the same reason, to get an education and to get the best education that they can. What do you think, Benson?
I agree. Not everyone is like me, who's an 18-year-old, 19-year-old going to university. There are some people that are there to advance their careers. They're out there to learn a couple more courses, either part-time or full-time. A lot of my friends actually stayed at home and they worked a couple of years to save up money. And several of my friends are actually doing a second undergraduate degree. So it's a new start for them, basically. Yeah.
One thing I want to say as well is put yourself in a difficult situation. Put yourself out there to meet people who you may not have met before, and you'll find that it's easier than you think, I promise.
Yep, and that's a great way to look at it, you know. For me, actually, I'll be living in residence, so I'll be thrown into a suite with 3 other people that I don't know.
Perfect.
So I have to find a way to, you know, kind of get along with them, and
You're not going to like everybody, but you're going to like most people.
I'll try to make friends. Okay.
Oh, as well, join clubs.
Yes,
Right?
that's great.
Join clubs. Talk to new people with subjects that you're interested in. We talked about this in our last show. If you want to create a club, join a club, whatever you want to do, go out and meet some people.
And actually, you know, your university probably has a frosh week. You should definitely meet friends there when you're having some fun. And also, there's also club fairs at your university. Go and meet like-minded people at your clubs, whether it might be like a pre-society or whether it's like a tea club. I know that Western has that. I'm interested in joining that as well. Mm-hmm. There's also big organizations like DECA, and there's where you meet a lot of friends and like-minded individuals.
And even international, like across campuses, they could have organizations at different schools. You could meet anybody. You know?
Yeah.
So if
just to let you know, Benson has some fans, if you could give them a shout out.
Oh, hi. I have a small fan base. Oh, okay. All right.
We actually have a question from the forum.
Awesome.
Yes. Anonymous wants to know, what was the difference between, this question is actually for Aaron, what is the difference between high school and university?
It's a tough question to answer. I would say that universities are more of a professional sort of environment. Your time is really your own. Mm-hmm. So unlike in high school when you were sort of in a building where you had preset, classes, you didn't have any choice about it really. In university, you get to sort of make your schedule within the restrictions of required courses and things like that. Your time is really your own, and it's a place to grow up. Really, is what I found. Hope I answered the question as best as I can.
Yeah. And if you have anything else to add to what Aaron said, or if you want to, comment on how to make friends or whatnot, remember to comment in the comments below, and you can win a Starbucks gift card.
Definitely, win-win. Come on, guys.
All right.
So let's move on to another question. Though Carleton is the most reputable program or school for the program that this person's interested in, which is political science, they've heard that the campus are quite unappealing. They live closer to U of T, which is a pretty decent political science program, and from what they heard, the campus is beautiful. Should this be a determining factor when choosing the university?
So the aesthetics of a university, this comes up basically every year, and I've been on the thread for a long while now. And the general consensus is usually between like Western and U of T, but there's a lot of great universities out there.
I'm a little biased myself.
Yeah, you went to U of T, I'm going to Western, so... I know Queens is really nice as well. University of Ottawa, great location. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, I'd say check out as many universities as you can. And like you said, Queens, Western, they're all really, really beautiful campuses and beautiful towns. If this is a really, important subject for you, rank them by your preference. Let us know your ranking, please. But do not decide based solely on solely the opinions of others. Make up your own mind in terms of this.
And if it's between Carleton and U of T for political science, you want to also look at like res fees, living at home. And this member is actually from Toronto, so U of T is actually a commuter school for them. And you want to look at how much money you're saving financially living at home and commuting. It could be between the $10,000 and $15,000, even more actually. So there's also different benefits of living at home or living on res on campus. So definitely do your research, look at it, and talk to your parents about what might be best for you.
For sure. Personally, I might consider education as the primary issue. If the program was, head and shoulders better than the other one, then, I don't think it's a particularly difficult decision. But again, like you said, decide upon your living situation as well, and, decide what's important to you.
Right.
We have an audience question.
Yes, we have a question from Instagram, actually. Maya wants to know, she's having trouble choosing between science and engineering. Do you guys have any tips to help Maya decide what career to take?
Ooh. Okay, so I'm not going to comment on like the career because both are very different. Engineering prospects change from year to year. Science prospects are different from year to year as well. But one thing I can comment on is the workload from a science and an engineering student. Without a doubt, I would say engineering is much harder. A lot of my friends are actually going to University of Waterloo for engineering, and if you look at their schedule, it's absolutely crazy.
I can imagine.
They have no electives. Sciences, on the other hand, you might have like 1 or 2 credits of electives, and that's where you can maybe have some leeway. And basically both are very similar. They have lab and things like that, so they're not too different, but engineering is significantly harder. So you want to look at your personal capabilities. Can you handle that workload? Is that what you want to do? Is engineering something you want to pursue? Do you have job prospects? What do you want to see yourself doing in the future?
Yeah.
And also, engineering also really heavily is involved with projects, right? In university, you're expected to study, do well, and also be engaged with different projects, and that's a huge thing in a lot of big engineering universities here in Canada. So do your research. We can ask on our thread. We actually have a lot of engineering students on our thread that can give you advice. So please feel free to ask them.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So was aesthetics important for you when making your decision to go to Western?
Yes. I didn't actually do any campus tours, right? But I had been to a couple campuses because of competitions and conferences.
Right.
And I basically narrowed it down to U of T and Western. Yeah, I know, there's a bit of bias, but my recommendation is that if you're going to do campus tours, figure it out, like carpool with friends is what I mean, because a lot of these campus tours are actually in the same time frame. A lot of them are during the fall and also during March break. So you can't visit like 5 or 6 campuses. It's not realistic.
It's difficult to get away in your final year, right?
So narrow it down to 2 or 3, carpool with a lot of friends, you save money, save time, and you can basically give yourself fewer options, but investigate those universities in more depth and see what's right for you.
For sure.
What do you think, Aaron? Did you do any campus tours?
I never did any campus tours. I was at U of T a bit because I lived downtown. I was mostly just happy to be in university, to tell you the real truth. But once I got there, you get really acclimatized to it pretty quickly. Right. So please comment below if there's anything that you want to add to this discussion. Please don't visit our forum to post any more questions regarding this. We check the forum pretty regularly, and we'd love to answer your questions.
So our next question comes from a user asking about finances. When does Waterloo release how much money everything will be? Residence, tuition, meal plan, etc. When am I expected to pay for all of this? And is it possible to get an estimated amount on paper for all the 5 years so I don't have to reapply for a loan each year?
Yes. Well, the answer to this is check with your institution. They release these numbers way in advance. They give you lots of time to make sure that you are prepared. They're usually released in the summer. And Benson, did you get anything yet?
Yes. So a university will usually post the general information on their site. But if you want specifics, go on your student portal and look for something called a statement of account. It can't be that different from university to university, but the statement of account will include your tuition, a lot of the fees, like donation fees, faculty fees, medical and dental plans, and things like that. And if you're living on residence, it might be on a separate portal, but it should also be pretty clear to you on when you should pay. And if you're wondering when you should pay, there's also a deadline schedule that each university should have, and because they also tell you if there's any fees that come along with being late.
Also, there's an option to opt out of health and dental if you are covered. I was covered under my parents.
Yeah.
So the site for that we will post at the end of the show. You can go there and put in the plan that you have, and it'll make sure that you have health and dental before it cuts you out.
And the second question is it possible to get an estimated amount on paper for all the 5 years so I don't have to reapply for a loan each year? Well, each university does have changes from year to year in terms of tuition prices, but you can get an estimated amount in terms of how much they are by looking at past years. So I really recommend you do that to get an idea of how much you should expect or save up or ask your parents. Do your research, please.
Yeah, a lot of this comes down to how much effort you put in and how invested you are in researching this. There are cloud apps as well that help you do budgeting. Would you trust something with your own personal information like that?
Well, if we're talking about like personal finance, right? Yeah. I usually do with Excel spreadsheet, very simple. Mm-hmm. And what I like to do is I like to prioritize how I spend my money.
Yeah.
First of all is paying for tuition and residence. That's first and foremost the most important. The second I would put towards like meal plan, things like that, because that's more lenient in terms of how you spend that money. Mm-hmm. And the third is obviously like clothing, entertainment, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think, Aaron? How did you prioritize your budgeting?
I have a really scattered mind sometimes. What I find helps me, you've already said it, but I'm going to say it again, write everything down. Use Excel spreadsheet if that works best for you. I use a pen and paper or an Excel spreadsheet. Prioritize things that you have to pay, and save something for yourself to have a bit of fun. I think it's important to reward yourself after you've been working hard. And university is a bit of a stressful time. You need a bit of stress relief, whatever it happens to be.
And actually, to add on to that, I use a debit card, as most students do. And with my bank, actually, they track and notify me if I spend money or if I overspend money. So as a student,
via text?
Via actually my app. So they give me a notification. It's like, Benson, you're spending too much money on coffee, Starbucks. But they'll do that, and that's a great way to kind of keep in touch with how much you're spending, because those coffees and meals can add up if you're eating out a lot.
For sure.
And yeah, if you're a student, get your budget in check. There's a lot of services on campus as well that can help you budget on a student income or student budget. So definitely look into that.
Yeah, please comment if you have anything to add to the subject. Have you found any ways of budgeting that we haven't mentioned? We'd love to hear from you.
And the next question is from our thread, and it's asking, what is the difference between a major, a minor, and a double major? Good and bad in terms of workload and getting a job? I know someone who's in engineering, but also doing a double degree in business. So I wanted to know if that's a good option, because it sounds like it's very interesting, and I'm looking into it as well. Major, sorry, yeah?
No, sorry, go ahead.
So a major is basically something that you focus primarily in your studies. And those will be dictated by course load, and it's different from university to university. A minor is something that you do on the side, but you've done it in a bit of length and a bit of depth. What do you think, Aaron? You know more about this.
Well, in any university program, you need a certain amount of credits to graduate, and these are required. So for U of T, we needed to get 20 full course equivalents, which is basically a big word for credit. And each of the major, minor, and for us it was specialist, for other people it's double major, they say you have to have X amount of credits. So for a minor, it'll usually be 3 to 5. Depending on your institution, major will be about 7 to 8 or 9, and the specialist will be like 13 to 14.
Yep.
So you can combine them however you want, as long as you within the guidelines of your university. But it makes you get a certain amount of credits in order to graduate.
And each university is slightly different. They should have all this information posted online on their website. So definitely take a look at that.
And if you can't find it, check it. Ask them.
Ask them. Yes. So, our next question comes from a student going into engineering. I'm starting first year in September for engineering. Any tips on how to survive university? I hear it's brutal, and I just want to stay off academic probation. I'm looking for an elective that is interesting but does not have a heavy workload. That's what everyone wants, basically.
Aren't we all? Yeah.
I don't want it to be too difficult to the point where it will have an impact on my engineering-related courses. You're a pro. What do you think, Aaron?
Never assume a class is going to be easy. Never, ever. And because, this is university. One way or another, this is all university education. You're going to be busy no matter what. So stay organized. Don't procrastinate. Even if you just start whatever paper, report, final project, whatever it is, just start doing it. And you'll find that it flows a lot easier. And create some small goals to reward yourself. You say you'll finish this much of your project. Finish it, reward yourself, go out, have a cup of coffee or something.
Yep. And another thing is, when you're choosing an elective, be mindful of what other people tell you, right? Take it with a grain of salt, because things change from year to year. I know at Western, there's one year there was a super easy board course, and the next year they changed the prof, and basically it wasn't very pretty. But anyways, if you're choosing an elective, don't just choose it based on, the course content, although that's important, right? You also want to look at how it works around your schedule. As a science or an engineering student, you have a lot of labs and tutorials. Work that around your schedule. Put that into consideration. Is that elective something that works with your schedule or doesn't work with your schedule?
For sure.
Right.
And take something you know nothing about. Like, I always took theater courses in my first year because I didn't know anything about theater. Loved them, had a great time. And you can always drop them if in the early parts of the semester, if you find out it doesn't work.
Right.
Have you picked your courses yet?
I have picked my courses, and I have 2 electives this year. 3 electives, actually, but my 2 ones that are not really related to what I'm studying is philosophy and psychology. And the reason I chose those courses is because I planned it strategically. Not only because it works around my schedule, but also because I have breadth requirements to graduate. And also, one of my courses, philosophy, actually covers a breadth requirement and an essay requirement. So I kind of get like 2 birds with 1 stone, and I get it cleared by first year. So that's kind of what I did.
I can endorse philosophy. I studied philosophy and loved it. It's a bit of a reading heavy course. We have a audience question.
Yes. Someone in the forum is asking, did your marks drop on first year of university?
Mine did not. Mine went up. I've heard, from what I've heard, that's a bit of a weird situation. I don't see any reason why your marks should drop. We've all heard of the freshman 15 though, haven't we?
Isn't that going to weight?
Weight and your marks, yeah, they go the opposite directions. Look, if you don't want this to happen, and no one does, then stay organized, stay on top of what you have to do. It can get overwhelming sometimes, but it's all perfectly manageable.
Right.
It's not set in stone that you have to lose 15 percentage points.
Right. And just remember to prioritize what you have to do, whether that's getting a job or volunteering or studying, know what is most important first, right?
Yeah.
And I think most students would say it's studying and
Of course.
preparing for exams and things like that.
Right on.
Right. Oh, yes. We have a question.
Yes, we have a question from Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually for Benson. Benson, how did you start budgeting? I'm really bad at saving and would love to learn to budget well.
Okay, so budgeting is something I've learned over time because I've had a couple of jobs and I have an idea of how this works. So first of all is set money aside and save for goals. If this is assuming you have like tuition and residence and things like that covered.
Mm-hmm.
Over the year, if you're having a job, put aside some things for next year or for big goals that you have. And for me, that's saving for apartment fees for next year. So if I get a job this year, it's going to be setting something aside for that. And also, I'm setting aside for paying back OSAP because in 4 years' time, I have to pay back OSAP. And obviously, this is a big thing for me. So I'm setting aside money for two things first, and that's probably around 25 to 30% of my entire budget already. Next, after that, I'm saving for meal plan. If I have to cover something or if my meal plan runs out, I have to subsidize that.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, I put money aside for clothing, entertainment, eating out, because that's important. That's a part of student life. I don't want to be stuck in my room.
Of course.
So there's a lot of great resources out there. Personally, I use an Excel spreadsheet. Very simple. Excel actually has a lot of templates for you to use, and it's easy to see with a lot of graphs. But find your own niche. Find what fits for you, what works best with you. If you're looking, if you're a really big tech person, maybe look for an app. I didn't find that it was useful for me, but for some people it might be helpful.
And if you find something that really works for you, let us know. Let our forum know.
Yeah, so you can share with other students.
I think we have another question here. So this person's been accepted to Western for medical science.
Right.
And they've begun picking courses for their first year.
Mm-hmm.
Their classes have an option for applied and advanced. Does it matter which one you pick regarding how you get into medical school later on?
Okay, this is to my knowledge, right? You only need a biology and a chemistry credit with a lab for U of T and U of Ottawa. Whether it's applied or academic, I don't think it actually matters. But if you're unsure, definitely talk to your academic counselor.
Yeah.
Every university has one. Talk to them about your goals in terms of graduating or post university or post undergrad, and they'll have you sorted it out because there's a lot of things that a lot of students don't know.
Yeah.
So talk to your guidance, talk to your academic counselor, and also look at it and research it yourself as well.
They're paid to help you, so you go to them. So yeah, please comment below if you have anything to add to this topic. Are you taking applied or advanced courses? Do you think it matters? Have you talked to a registrar? That would be phenomenal if you could tell us that. Yeah.
And the next question is about scholarships. Are there any scholarships, Aaron, for students in grade 11?
There are. Yconic is currently running their Act for Impact scholarship. That's partnered with Scotiabank. It's open to everyone 13 and older. It's in support of he for she, and all you have to do is tell us how you're acting for gender equality in your community. There's $17,500 to be won in prizes, and we're going to provide the link to this at the end of the show.
Okay, that's good. Lastly, we noticed a thread developing about what not to bring to university. What do you think, Aaron?
Well, a few things come to mind immediately. Flip-flops, extra towels, tip. Don't leave towels that are wet in a pile. They will smell bad in a day, I promise you. I speak from experience. Laundry hamper. I put up shelves in the places that I live just to increase storage space. Benson, you're living on a residence. Do you have roommates? Do you know them now? Do you what's going on with that?
Actually, I have a single room. But it's in a suite with like 3 other people, so definitely I have to get along with them.
Shared bathroom?
Shared bathroom with one person actually,
That's
so it's not too bad. So setting up ground rules, of course, is a big thing. Cleaning schedules.
What are going to be your ground rules?
Sleeping noise level, when to clean,
Right.
basic sanitation, typical things you should expect from a student.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much to ask for.
No, of course. Well, we have some answers from the thread actually
Yeah.
as well. So, electric water kettle, that was one you answered earlier.
Yes, actually.
Medication, Pepto-Bismol, Advil, cold
Yeah.
meds. Drying rack for clothes, a pillow, definitely a good idea. Comfort materials, humidifier, multi-outlets, a basket for your toiletries.
Speaking of multi-outlets, I would recommend you bring a surge protector, actually, because if your laptop is something that you really care for, you should probably get one to protect it from surges.
Yep.
Yeah.
I found my mom actually bought me a book when I moved out called Where's Mom Now That I Need Her? It's a working title. And someone actually commented that they should bring mom when they go away to university, which I think would have been a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's it. We apologize if we didn't have time to answer all your other questions.
Sorry, we have one
actually,
more
we have one more
audience question.
Yes.
Jasdeep from Instagram wants to know, Aaron, do you have any horror stories about roommates?
I've lived with quite a few people. I'm not going to delve too deep into the stories, but for 4 months in my university career, I had to share a room with 2 other people. And that's a room. That's not a dorm. That's like a room with separate beds in a room. That was terrible. I never am going to do that in my life again. But it wasn't. You're with your friends as well, so it wasn't super terrible.
Speaking of that, actually, since I'm going to Western, people that are worried about getting roommates, a lot of people actually are. Worst comes to worst, you can speak to your RA and complain about them. I've had a lot of upper year students, tell me their horror stories, but in the end, it all gets sorted out. And actually, universities a lot of the time have questionnaires to match potential students with in terms of lifestyle. So they ask you do you like to sleep late or wake up early, things like that? Do you like your music loud, not loud, in your study habits and things like that? And they'll kind of put people who are similar together, and hopefully, there's a reduced chance of conflict.
Fingers crossed, everybody.
Fingers crossed. Right, so this is the end. We apologize if you didn't have time to answer any of your other questions, but if you do, please feel free to comment them in the thread that we have linked below. A lot of our members will actually be glad to answer your questions because we have a breadth of experience. And also, we are actually looking for students to join our Student Ambassador program. So if you're a grade 12 student or a student in university with a breadth of experience and you're really excited and you're really active on social media and you want to help other students, the link to apply is actually in the comments below, so remember to check that out after the show.
You were actually a student ambassador. Currently, yeah.
All right, I'm actually a student ambassador, and I really like it. During my time in high school, I had a lot of experiences. Whether that's working a part-time job, taking summer school, doing research, doing co-op, a lot of things that a lot of students are interested about. And I could share that with a lot of people out there that wouldn't have otherwise known about it or have contact with people that don't have these connections. So yconic.com is a great resource to connect with other students, I think. And if you're really passionate about something like this, definitely check out the Student Ambassador program.
For sure.
Right?
So we had such a great time talking to everybody today, or talking to you anyway. Remember that we're posting all the links that we talked about in the show at the end. So all the resources that we had are going to be available too.
Right, and we'll be back next month, so stay tuned for a new topic. And that's it. Okay, thank you very much. Take care.
Keep smiling.